When you're tuning into your courage, you're telling the neural pathways in your brain that fear is no longer in control. When you're meditating, taking action to counter a fear or make changes to becoming who you want to be, you're reorganizing your energetic field. And when you step into the energy of courage, you become a beacon that draws in relationships and experiences that are in alignment with that.
Hey there, this is Women on the Brink. I'm your host, Chris Jeffrey, a registered acupuncturist and wellness advisor with a passion for helping women live happier and more balanced lives. When I'm away from work, I'm usually outside in nature, either walking the seawall or I'm hiking in the mountains. And like many of you, my life has been filled with moments of hardship, some that I thought I couldn't overcome and really left me questioning my own strength. But through these challenges, I discovered resilience, courage, and a renewed sense of purpose. So I'm here to share not just my journey, but the lessons I've learned, and to remind you that no matter what obstacles come your way, there's always a path forward. And just to let you know, this podcast is not prescriptive. It's an offering. So please take what resonates with you and leave the rest.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Women on the Brink. I actually can't believe that this is our last episode of 2024, which also marks the closing of our very first podcast season. And I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and supporting me through this journey. I really, really appreciate it. Last week we talked about the Hawkins scale and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I'd suggest first checking it out before this episode today, because I want to dive deeper into these topics. And just as a quick recap, in the hierarchy of needs, the first level is survival mode. And Maslow suggests that the transition to get from this level of survival to the next, which is our need for relationships and community and stepping away from fear, this aligns with the concept of courage. And similarly, the Hawkins scale, which is a hierarchy of human emotional frequencies, it claims that the lower emotional states are weak, negative, while the higher ones are stronger, more positive ones. So what separates these two energies is also courage. And it separates the feeling that we're fighting with life with the feeling of being more in the flow of life. And it is at an energetic frequency of 200. So those lower destructive frequencies like shame, anger, guilt, and apathy, they all hover below 200. And all of the more constructive frequencies like compassion and love and joy, acceptance are all above 200. So we're going to talk about courage today, which I think is really the opposite of fear. And to move beyond survival mode, people really need the courage to engage with others and form meaningful connections and really challenge their fears. So here's the amazing thing that happens when we're becoming courageous. According to the Hawkins scale, at this courage level, not only do we become empowered and begin to realize that we can change our reality, but when we're at this level, we can affect the consciousness of many other people around us exponentially. So just think about this for a minute. By becoming courageous and making changes from a weakened, negative, contractive state to one of strength and positivity and openness, we can change the energies of people around us. And exponentially, meaning at a steady, rapid rate. So this shift is not just personal, but it suggests that our level of consciousness has a ripple effect on our broader environment, starting with our friends, our coworkers, family, and community, and then just growing from there. So I had a look at how this ripple effect works. Do you remember Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan, who stood up for her right to education when the Taliban's regime banned females to the right to an education? And despite threats and nearly being killed in an assassination attempt, she chose to speak out, which, I mean, that's a huge act of courage. And by choosing courage, Malala moved from survival states of fear into an empowered state of action and purpose. So her courage actually gave her clarity and strength and propelled her to become a global advocate for girls' education. And this inspired her family to continue supporting her mission, despite personal risks, which amplified the message of resistance to oppression within her community. So then the other people in her village began to see possibility. Then the word just spread to other communities, and eventually it became a global movement. And Malala's bravery has actually inspired millions of girls to demand their right to education. This has also inspired world leaders to prioritize education reforms. Malala's courage and her work continue to inspire compassion, collaboration, and systemic change. And her choice to act with courage became a beacon of hope, demonstrating how one courageous act can elevate not only the individual, but also inspire a global movement, shifting the consciousness of millions of people. And in today's world where so many of us feel helpless as to what we can actually do individually to improve the state of this planet that is in such crisis, here's one solution. We can see what a difference one person can make just by having the courage to make personal change. So when we develop ourselves and cultivate this personal courage, we then inspire those around us who will in turn inspire others around them. And this is the beautiful ripple effect from courage. Courage provides us with lots of hope for the future. So stay with us to grab the tools you need to cultivate courage in your own life.
Join us on our website for articles from our podcasts at www.womenonthebrink.net. There you'll find extra tools that can be used to raise self-awareness and build resilience. We want to make this experience as interactive as possible for you Brinkers. So join the forums, introduce yourself, and share your stories.
So how do we cultivate courage? So these 3 steps will help you no matter where your energetic frequency is right now. But, this is not an easy task because courage takes us out of our comfort zones. But here's how you'll remember the steps. It's the ASS acronym.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's right. ASS. A is for acknowledging and accepting fears. S is for setting small goals. And the other S is to seek support and inspiration. So first and foremost, everything begins with self-awareness and acknowledgement. So understanding what you fear and why is the first step in addressing it. Like if your fear, like mine, is of public speaking and you've had a couple of bad experiences with it, maybe spend some time reflecting on what happened. Were you underprepared for it, or was it just about being in front of a large group of people that caused the fear? Like for me, I don't even like large crowds, so being the center of attention is paralyzing for me. And the second thing, set small goals. Inaction is the way that most people fail at reaching their goals. So making the goals small enough so that they're achievable is really key. Like I'm sure not ready to start doing TED Talks, but maybe I could talk at a local community center. I mean, every small victory can build courage. I once joined Toastmasters because I thought it would be a good way to get some constructive criticism on public speaking styles. And it really taught me how to engage people. And it also taught me to try and anticipate the questions that might arise from the audience. And then the third thing is seek support and inspiration. This is really, really important. When you're surrounding yourself with supportive people like, your friends, families, or mentors who encourage and support you, like I did with joining Toastmasters, it really reinforces confidence. So study the lives of people you admire for their courage and really get to understand like how they face their fears and challenges. Like, did you know that Tony Robbins, one of the biggest motivational speakers in the world, once had a fear of public speaking? And look at you go now, Tony. And one example of a person who I think is very courageous is Gloria Allred, the American attorney who is known for taking on high profile and often controversial cases, particularly those involving the protection of women's rights. You want to see a great example of courage? Watch Seeing Allred on Netflix. I mean, that woman is a force. And one of the women I love the most in Hollywood is Reese Witherspoon. Forbes named her one of the world's top 100 most powerful women, not once, but twice in 2015 and 2021. There are way too many accolades for that intelligent woman to mention here. But I just have to say, respect to you, sister. I find all three of these people, Tony, Gloria, and Reese, very, very inspirational. So that's ass. And you are now becoming badasses.
They can't see me like Houdini, move discreetly. I go poof. They can't see me like Houdini, Lamborghini. It go poof.
When you're tuning into your courage, you're telling the neuropathways in your brain that fear is no longer in control. When you're meditating, taking action to counter a fear or make changes to becoming who you want to be, you're reorganizing your energetic field. And when you step into the energy of courage, you become a beacon that draws in relationships and experiences that are in alignment with that. And according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, the quantum field, or that electromagnetic field that is in tune with our personal energy field, it doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you've become. And the lower level energetic frequencies like fear, anger, hate, etc., when you're in survival mode, are actually closing you off from the possibilities you're trying to create. So in closing today, I just want to say, keep on acting despite the fear. Like, courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. So by continuously putting ourselves in situations that challenge our fears, starting with the smaller ones, we'll gain confidence and resilience. And who knows of the, new opportunities that are out there as we become more open and flexible and even curious about change. By consistently building we can strengthen our courage over time. And this will transform our energetic frequency from those lower, more survival-oriented states to higher states of empowerment, connection, and self-actualization. So today I'm going to put 5 practical exercises on our website, womenonthebrink.net, to help you build courage. And this episode wraps up the first season of Women on the Brink. So I really want to thank you, listeners, for following us on social media and hitting the 5-star button on all of your podcast platforms and or leaving reviews. Your support is what gives this podcast its fuel. And we've got some really exciting episodes to share with you in the new year. So please stay tuned.
Thanks for joining. And I want you to know that this isn't just a podcast. This is a movement. So share this information with your friends and let's go, ladies.